Okay, excellent. So good morning, everybody, and thank you again for joining us for another much loved module session. Just a couple of sort of housekeeping bits and pieces, as you've already discovered. The chat box is brilliant, and please do pop your questions in there, because I think it's really useful for everyone to be able to see them, whereas I think if you put them in the Q&A, only the panelists and the hosts can see them. So pop them in there and just mark to everyone so everyone can see the questions that are coming in, and I'm sure you're going to have lots of questions. So I'm here this morning. I'm Sally, for those of you that don't know. I'm here with my colleague Jackie, and we're very lucky to also be joined by Kavita from MNDA and Emma Bowles from Ellenor, who are going to be sharing some of their stewardship journeys with us. So just a quick kind of, I'll get my presentation working, a quick kind of roundup of what we're covering today. So we're going to be obviously looking at stewardship, covering, and just going to go through a few sort of the basics, the who, the what, and the how. And then Emma and Kavita will be sharing their stewardship journeys. And then, as always, there will be an opportunity for Q&A. So I think actually today we'll keep those until the end, but you're welcome to pop your questions in before then. We'll try not to get too distracted by them. So just very quickly looking at the who. Now, with your much loved product, that sort of breaks down into 4 areas. So your tribute fund holders, so the people that are setting up tributes through your service, through your much loved service, so from the links on your website. You've also got pages that are created by our funeral director partners, and they are shown in your partner area if you're an Optimum partner, in the area that says tributes fundraising for you. So they're created by funeral directors on behalf of the families, but you should still get quite a lot of their contact information in. You've also then got event fundraisers, so they're people setting up events within tributes. And I'm sure that after our new update on events section of the tributes, which is happening kind of as we speak, there will be an increase in event fundraisers through the pages. But they may be the fund holder, but they may also be a friend or a family member, so they could be a different person. And then finally, you've got your donors, and you may or may not think it's necessary to steward them, but maybe just add them to your marketing list where you've got the appropriate permissions. And I just wanted to share some testimonials that we've received to reinforce really the effect that a tribute page can have when somebody sets one up. So there's just a couple of quotes there that I wanted to share with you. So I'm now going to pass you over to Jackie.
Hi everyone, it's great that so many of you are attending this module. So the what do you want to achieve from your stewardship program? So what's the outcome that you're after with these, the journey you're going to put your supporters on? So I guess you're going to want the engagement, building those long-term relationships with your supporters. You're going to want to make supporters feel really valued. And by this, I also mean keeping the connection with them. So thank them, be personable with them, make them feel that they really are connected to your charity and that everything they do for you, they really are valued. I know that quite a lot of you now seem to be having like targets with your roles, increasing in-memory income or growing tribute fund income. So this fund, the tribute funds, can also be a way of helping you grow this as an income tool. The successful growth of your tribute scheme, so more visibility for your cause, will also benefit not only internally but externally as well, so that people are really aware that your charity have a tribute scheme that they can offer supporters. And I'd also really recommend that you keep track of all the communications on your database about the in-mem communications that you may do, because often a supporter care team might be looking at no appeals gone out, but they might not know that you're running a different in-men stewardship program. So it's really good to keep the circle of communication so that you look really joined up to your supporters as well. Just something to bear in mind when you plan that stewardship journey. So next slide, please, Sally. So the how are you going to deliver your journey? So again, just a few ideas: your personal introductory email, phone call to a new fund holder. Again, it's going back to this, make them feel valued. You know, if you're calling them at a sensitive time where they've been recently bereaved, you know, it may be really touching that they know that you're there for them. A personalised handwritten card or letter, if you can do this. Gifts such as seeds, which I know quite a few of the hospices send out to their tribute fund holders. Online video calls. Now, this is something that has been growing, especially during the pandemic. And I know a few of you have started doing these type of calls, or Zoom calls. Another way of keeping connection, or sending a little personal video message or WhatsApp call is another option now that's open to us, I guess. Through your MuchLoved platform, you've also got the functionality of lighting candles, thoughts, adding virtual gifts. And again, this could be something that your fund holders aren't aware of. So maybe this is an idea of a communication that you could let them know about. So it's another way of having a communication that's giving an appropriate message for them as a tribute fund holder. A tribute fund newsletter, email or printed, and then a video thank you from a key person in your charity, like your clinician, researcher, fundraiser, beneficiary. When I was actually at the Stroke Association, we did do a big thank you campaign, and our CEO actually got involved as well and was the last one to give their thank you from the whole of the organisation. And it was powerful, not just externally but internally, knowing that, you know, colleagues and the powers that be have actually brought into the fact that they do have a tribute scheme. And then don't forget, for our Optimum partners, we've got the bereavement support with Grief Chat. So this is your little pop-up box that you add to your website. So it's just something that you can give to your supporters, another support tool, if you like, without making an ask. Because within your stewardship program, I'd really recommend that you mix it up with maybe a soft ask, no ask, and then an ask. But, you know, always thinking they are fundraising tools for you, but there's something you're giving back to your supporters. Okay, next slide. So I know we've got the lovely Emma and Kavita going to actually go through the journeys that they're doing, but I just thought I'd share a couple of things that I actually did when I worked for the Stroke Association. So we started something called a trigger campaign. So once we've got enough tributes and fund holders, we started them on a journey over a 10-month period. So month one, when they'd created their tribute, we would light a candle on the tribute and we'd let them know, a candle of comfort, just to let them know we were thinking of them, and how they could do it if they'd not already done it. So we probably didn't do anything in month two, but then month three would be just like a little thank you. And you can see there a big thank you. That's what formed the video as well. So we kept it all consistent. Then month 4 and 5, they might get an email about the functionality on the tribute, any new like virtual gifts, something new functionality, a reason to communicate with them, letting them know. Hopefully they'd visit their tribute, and whilst visiting their tribute they would make a donation. So therefore you're keeping the connection and getting those repeat donations. Also, we would do a bit more of an ask, so it might be an event communication, but that could also be used as a standalone, so it didn't always just have to go to the people within this stewardship journey. It could go to a wider audience, and we had a couple like that could go to a wider audience. Then 7 and 8 might have so I see we've got some questions, we'll answer them at the end. 7 and 8 you know, would be an ask as well. And then month 10 would be no ask. It's just thanking them, we really appreciated, and different things like that. Then they would just feed into the normal appeal journey and everything else. So obviously we'd only be able to do this if we'd got their permissions to do a marketing ask. If it was just a thanking one, they would just get a normal thank you standard email, no marketing asks. The other thing that we tried when we were when I was at the stroke was that anybody not engaged with their tribute, so they'd set it up but they'd never ever lit a candle, put a message, made a donation, did nothing with it. So we just did a little reminder. Internally these were known as dormant funds. So we just wanted to see if we could re-engage with them, reconnect with them, to see what their connection was with our charity. And so I think it's about 100 funds we contacted. Couple wanted them deleted. Most of them had forgotten they'd set the tribute up. And in fact, one gentleman made a £500 donation to his mother's tribute because he had actually forgotten, and he meant to add some a donation once her estate had been settled. So the fact that we, you know, sent out that mailing, we might never have received that donation. So it was lovely for him that he remembered that he wanted to do that, and he got the tribute. But then also obviously the charity received some income. We also went with a printed newsletter. Stroke supporters often tended to be an older audience, so we had printed newsletter where we shared other stories about what other fund holders had done, where they shared their story about their loved one, what their connection was with the Stroke Association, how they were on that journey. And we got lots of positive feedback about that, because it gave everybody a place where they could resonate with other people who were going through exactly the same as they had. And then the other key thing to do is try and share your stories of your tributes within all your other appeals, your newsletters, any communications that your charity sends out, because this really will raise the profile and get to a wider audience. And even internally, colleagues who perhaps hadn't appreciated just about the tribute scheme that they offered for supporters, they'd also grow their understanding as well. So I'm not sure if they're still doing this, but that's what I delivered. Okay.
Thank you, Jackie. There was just a quick question from Sharon, just asking what if they haven't opted into comms. So if they're a fund holder, when they set up their tribute page, they opt in to receive communications. Part of setting up the tribute fund is they have to agree to the terms and conditions, and within that it states that the charity that they're supporting will be in touch about their tribute page. So you can communicate with them about their tribute page, and that's different from opting into sort of additional kind of marketing details. So I'm going to just hand over to, oh, and Andre just asked a question. It was just Jackie that managed the tribute funds at the Stroke Association at the time. So thank you very much, Jackie. I'm going to hand over now to Emma from Ellenor. So over to you, Emma.
Thank you. So yeah, my name's Emma. I work for Ellenor Hospice. We're an adults and children's charity based over in Kent. So I joined the team, the very small individual giving team of 2, back in November, December 2020. And sort of my role covers a lot of different things, like I'm sure lots of hospice individual giving officers will. So lottery, regular giving, appeals, but roughly about 50% of my time at the moment is spent in MEM. And that's just because I'm very fortunate and I have a manager who's an absolute guru at lottery. So that takes up a lot of her time. So our journey with MuchLoved kind of started back in May 2020. So that's when we kind of, wanted to find out a bit more about tribute pages. We were getting a small amount of income from them, but nothing substantial. With the world being as it was, we wanted to really invest in our sort of digital online our digital in-memory products. So thanks to Sally, we spoke to a lot of other hospices who are also using tribute funds to understand the successes and the sort of challenges that they had around them. And then off the back of that and lots of research, we put together a business case to become a MuchLoved partner, which we submitted to our exec team. Then in November 2020, I joined the individual giving team, and the business case was approved. I'm not saying correlation causation, but you know, make that what you are. And then in December 2020 we become a MuchLoved partner. So I thought I'd start off with some finances, just to give you an idea. Sort of, we are obviously quite a small charity in comparison. Our rough sort of income is about 7 million a year, split across sort of fundraising activity and sort of statutory grants and stuff. So InMem is a lot of that income, but not, you know, it's sort of kind of, we're a smaller charity. So 2017, we had roughly 7 new tribute pages created, and that raised £976 for us. That's obviously a net value. Then 2018, we had 6 new tribute pages created, raising 3,145. There was an anomaly in that. One page did exceptionally well, so it sort of skewed the figures but brought it up. 2019, we have 13 new tribute pages created, of which we raised £5,797. And then 2020, 2021, sort of bearing in mind that halfway through that year we've become a MuchLoved partner, we had 24 new tribute pages created, and £14,576 raised for Eleanor, which is, you know, triple what we had the last year. This sort of since April this year, we've raised roughly sort of 12,000, £13,000, and we've had 38 pages created. So it's continuing to rise and improve. Next page, please. So one of the big things that we started looking at once we had secured the partnership, we looked at what promotional materials we had. We hadn't really actively promoted in memory giving, so this was kind of our first product outside of our memory tree, really, that we were looking at working with. So we put together a tribute page leaflet, which would use as sort of an information guide, but also as an opportunity to kind of promote the tribute page services as well. So this is kind of an example. Well, this is an example of the page. So if you see the front and the back there, and then if you take us to the next page, Sally, this is the inside. So it's an A5 4-page folded booklet. On the inside, obviously, we've got details about what a tribute page is, because tribute page makes perfect sense to us listening on this call, but probably not, you know, my nan down the road. It talks a little bit about what you'll be able to do with your tribute page, how you can set one up. We've also used a case study of a supporter who we looked after her husband, Bob, Judy Beasy, who is just the most wonderful human being. And she very kindly shared her story to be part of this. And then at the bottom, so the hospice doesn't use the grief chat service that MuchLoved offer. And that's only just because we have our own amazing bereavement support teams that we can then sort of signpost people to. So there's a little section at the bottom there, just giving them information about how they can get more bereavement support. Next page. So I thought I'd start off with a bit of an example of some of the new products that we started. So Jackie sort of said earlier that lots of people use seeds. We're definitely one of them. So we didn't actually introduce our seeds until March earlier this year. So it's pretty new. So we had them for about 6 months, and you can see a picture of it on the left. And got a little example here. So we would include these in our kind of final total raised comms that we would send out. So that would be between sort of 4 to 6 weeks after a funeral, updating the next of kin on how much had been raised in memory of their loved one. As I am a project manager by trade, I suppose. So one of the things that we did after about 6 months was do a bit of a test and review to see if these seeds had any impact on engagement, or just, you know, the general kind of motivations of the supporters. as you'll see, they're marigold seeds. So we had a few people come back. They loved the seeds, they thought they were wonderful, but if you're not green fingered, marigolds are apparently quite difficult to grow. So we're going to change them. So we've got a new sort of design, and we've got new seeds. So we're growing wildflower. We're sending out wildflower seeds, which I've been promised everyone can grow, and we've just added a little message onto the front cover of the design as well, just to say thank you for thinking of us, which ties in with some other messaging that we've started introducing now as part of the comms plan. So next slide. So then in terms of the actual stewardship journey from our point of view, just to kind of give you some context, obviously, as I've said, there's 2 of us working in the individual giving team, but about 50% of my time is dedicated to MMM. Obviously, that's split across MuchLoved, funeral directors, funeral guide, dignity pages, all of those wonderful things, and obviously funeral donations that come in directly to the hospice as well. But yeah, but we don't have the sort of huge number of pages that you'll hear about later on. So I am very fortunate in that I can have quite personalised and bespoke relationships with tribute guardians. So within sort of 2 days of a tribute page being created, the first thing I am able to do is pick up the phone, as long as I've got a telephone number, and just acknowledge that we've received the notification, and thank them, and just ask if there's anything that we can do to help. I think a lot of people get quite anxious about this stage, because a lot of people that you speak to are recently bereaved, but I've been very fortunate in that I've had bereavement training actually through MuchLoved, and through our own internal bereavement teams, and it's given me the confidence to know that actually there are definitely things that you shouldn't say, but you're a kind of an outreach for that person. So by having that conversation early on, I'm able to sort of offload some of the tasks, I guess, when you're leading up to a funeral. So I can say then, is there anything you need, donation envelopes or anything like that? And usually we can cover all of those bits in that call. And also then they just have a first point of contact. When someone dies, you normally have just so many different people who you need to contact about this and contact about that. And so I always think it's quite nice just sort of putting my hand out there and saying, hello, it's me. So if you need anything, just give me a shout. And even if it isn't me that they really need to speak to, I can just take it and then pass it over to the right person. So then following that call, I'll send out a handwritten card. So I have an example of one here. I'm hoping the glare doesn't sort of go too far because I've got a light up, but you can see here, and the image on here matches our leaflet as well, so it's kind of consistent branding. So yeah, so obviously if we've got an address, I'll write a handwritten sort of sympathy card, and that's really just very much thank you for thinking of us. If you need anything, here are my details, and I'll include my business card in there as well. Obviously, if we don't have an address, we'll send out that as an email. Then I will light a candle on the tribute page from the hospice. Then after that, I'll sort of leave them, and sort of with the aim of 5 days after the funeral, I'll then call them again just to check in. I try and leave it until after the funeral because people are very busy and there's lots of things to think about, and they don't want me phoning them asking, how are you and all that. So I try and wait until afterwards. And it's also a good opportunity as well because they'll normally have collected cash from the funeral or they'll have questions. So that's a good chance for us to sort of wrap those bits up and talk about next steps. Then following that, sort of 6 to 8 weeks after a funeral, we'll send a letter to the next of kin, which will have the total amount raised in memory of their loved one. So that'll be split across any donations that we've received directly to the hospice, but also anything that's been raised on their tribute page, and we'll include a pack of seeds with that as well. Sort of September, October time, they'll then receive our Lights of Love appeal with an invitation to the service, which will happen in December, and we personalise that based on the fact that they're tribute fund holders. And then in December, I will light a Christmas candle. We're actually looking, so MuchLoved do personalised virtual gifts. So I'm speaking to my account manager at the moment about whether we can have a nice sort of Eleanor Christmas gift created that we can then schedule to go out in December. On the year anniversary, we'll then light a candle and leave a message. There's a really lovely functionality that MuchLoved have that allows you to actually do that very, very far in advance. So though it appears on the year anniversary, it's something that I schedule within a couple of days of the page being created. And then from that point, they'll just kind of go into our comms, our normal comms journey. So they'll receive updates on the hospice. What we're going to be looking at the moment is putting together kind of a newsletter. And I know that other people have done that very, very successfully. So it's something we definitely want to embed in our comms journey as well. But otherwise, yeah, they'll kind of receive correspondence regarding upcoming in-mem events, appeals, all of that kind of normal fundraising comms cycle. Obviously, on the agreement that they have an opt-in, and that's kind of what leads most of this. But yeah, I think that's it. I think that's everything from me.
Great, thank you very much, Emma. So that just there were a couple of comments. If you could share your seed provider, a couple of people have asked about that.
They're called Wildflowers, but I'll share. I'll just
Flowers.
Sally.
Okay. Yeah, perfect. Or pop it in the in the
chat.
In the chat, and everyone can see. There was a question as well about saying that if people's seeds hadn't grown, they found it very upsetting. So one organisation have stopped sending them because of that. So I don't. If anyone's got any comments on that, then please feel free to pop it in the chat for others to see their comments about it. And Jennifer, we do provide some bereavement training, so I'll make sure that someone gets in touch with you about that. But so thank you very much, Emma. And I'm now going to hand over to Kavita.
Hi, good morning. So my name's Kavita Palmer, and I'm the Legacy Marketing Officer at the M&D Association. So there are two of us in the team. There's me and my manager, and our main responsibility actually is legacy marketing, but also part of our responsibility is looking after tribute funds, which are set up for families to fundraise in memory of someone. And we also look after fight back funds, and these are for those that are fundraising in honour of someone living with a disease. So I just want to start off with showing you this graph where you can see the popularity of tribute fund online pages, and it's actually skyrocketed since the end of summer last year. So for example, if we look at Feb, we received actually £15,000 in donations in 2020, which is in the green line. But however, this year, this has actually jumped to an incredible 60,000, which is in the purple line. So this year it was still much above all the previous years. It has dipped down slightly in the past couple of months, but we're still much above in comparison to all the other years. There isn't a huge amount of uplift in people setting up the pages, but I think we saw around 100 more pages being set up, but the number of people who are actually donating on them is what has really jumped, and obviously the pandemic being one of the reasons for this amount of donations as well. So next slide, please, Sally. So I've been at the association for about 2.5 years now, and we had actually partnered up with MuchLoved in 2018, so just a year before I joined the association. Since we started using the MuchLoved platform, the income in 2018 was about 58,470. So from the graph, you can actually see that the income has actually more than doubled every year since. So this year, I've not actually put this year's figures on there, but we're already on 358,957. So again, growing our MuchLoved income year on year. And again, this is nearly doubled since 2020. So that's great. So onto our stewardship journey. So MuchLoved is used to host all of our tribute fund pages actually. But once a fund is set up, we try and keep in touch and keep people updated as to how much their fund has raised. We actually now have quite a robust stewardship journey, which we have been following now for the past couple of years. So I've just included some screenshots on the stewardship journey and the materials that we actually send out. So I'll start right from the beginning, which is on the left-hand side. So we have our promotional tribute fund leaflets. So on the front, it says creating lasting celebration of your loved one. These might be sent out with kind of collection envelopes or any other letters that are sent by our income processing team or supporter services team. And once the tribute fund has been created, we have a kind of a weekly report that's pulled out. And from there, we then send out a welcome letter. So if a tribute fund is usually created through the M&D Association website or the MuchLoved platform. So then we would send a welcome letter and a thank you within kind of usually 2 weeks of the page being set up. So the welcome letter, I've just put in a little bit of wording in the middle, but along with that, we also include the welcome leaflet, which is on the right-hand side. And this includes many ways to fundraise and kind of gives you a bit of hints and tips to build the page and ways to share with family and friends. Within the pack, we also include postcards, which I think Sally's just showing with her cursor there. And with these postcards, they can actually share it with their family and friends. And on the reverse, it actually has a space on the back to write the link of the tribute fund page. As well as this, we also, within the pack, include funeral collection envelopes, just in case they want to give these out to family and friends. So moving on, I also regularly send out monthly emails. This goes out to the Guardian at the end of each month to update them on their tribute fund total. We may give a bit of an update about research projects or some tips as to how they can personalise their page. Sorry, my page is just, my screen's just started flashing a little bit. Bear with me 1 second. The email is only sent out to those with online pages, actually. So then moving on, right at the end of the screen, you might be able to see our newsletter. This is a general fundraising newsletter that is sent twice a year. And this is actually created by our colleagues in the direct marketing team. However, if someone has a tribute fund, the cover is actually sent from Emma, my manager. And this has updates for the tribute fund total. This is only sent out to them if obviously marketing communications is a yes. It might also be worth making you aware that historically, tribute funds have actually always haven't been online for us. So we have some older tribute funds in the past, and they might only receive the newsletter. So in between all of this, we regularly light candles on birthday anniversaries. So I regularly have set the notifications on for birthday anniversaries. So on the morning of each day, I usually go in and light birthday anniversaries just to keep on top of that. As soon as a page has been set up as well, I usually light a tribute fund candle straight away. And I also tend to leave gifts on special occasions such as Mother's Day and Father's Day and Christmas. MuchLoved actually have a great platform in the dashboard where I can easily kind of pull reports, and I find that quite handy because I can filter it down with kind of relationships for Mother's Day, Father's Day, and if they have a connection of a son and a daughter, I can easily go in and schedule in these type of gifts as well. Next slide, please, Sally. So something to do with funeral directors. So funeral directors also use MuchLoved to set up tribute funds for supporters and choose to support, obviously, charities for their funeral collections. At the start of the year, we noticed that the top pages for January, none of these pages were association-led pages, and most of these were actually set up by funeral directors. Past 2 years, we didn't actually have anything in place to engage with them because we don't really know what kind of statements they have been told or what the family have been told by the funeral directors. So we never actually engaged with these supporters. So starting from Jan, we actually started more of a stewardship journey with them as well. we started sending out thank you letters to thank them with a donation amount. And we started actually offering them if they would like to change it to a M&D Association tribute fund. And we've actually received a fairly good response where we've had people come back in touch with us asking for it to be changed into a tribute fund for the association. I briefly mentioned at the start that I also look after fight back funds. So fight back funds, the usage is very similar to a tribute fund where we again partner with MuchLoved. However, it's for those living with M&D. It has similar features, so it can you can still personalize your page, people can still donate, leave gifts and share pictures, but we just ensure that we turn off like the candles and the thoughts, just so it's not a memorial page and it's more suitable for someone living with M&D. So we do have a very similar stewardship process with that, but it's very much a little bit more simplified, where we just stick to the monthly emails at the end of each month, just to make sure that we regularly give them the update as well for those living with M&D. And that's about it from me with the stewardship process.
Brilliant, thank you very much, Kavita. So there have been a couple of comments about bereavement training. So just to reassure everyone that's commented on that, we are probably looking at running another session in spring. So I'll make sure that everyone that's commented gets information, but we do tend to send it to all of our partners anyway, so just keep an eye out, but I'll make sure that you specifically are informed of when that's going to happen. Kavita, there was a message from Tracy that said that she would like to speak to you, so I'll make sure you get her email address. And Olivia's asked a question, Kavita, if you could tell us a little bit about the difference between the leaflet before, the welcome leaflet, and the leaflet after.
Yeah, so the promotional leaflet, it includes more kind of directive ways to set up a tribute fund. So it will link more towards kind of the website, how to set it up, the benefits of a tribute fund, different ways to fundraise in memory. And the welcome letter, the promotional leaflet that's included in that one is different fundraising events, how to different ways of fundraising. It is very much similar, but you don't have that kind of setup aspect within it.
Okay, brilliant, thank you. We've had a question about fight back pages. Jackie, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, when I was at Stroke, we also did something called Strike Back, similar to what MNDA do with Fight Back. So these are, it is on the MuchLoved platform. When a supporter needs, if they're living with their condition but want to raise funds via a page, if you like, you can still personalize it. You just need to set it up for them to make sure that you're set it to a living tribute and not a it talks in the tense of being deceased, because obviously they're living with the thing. But they were quite successful, and I know MNDA tributes are Fight Back are very successful as well. I think there's a couple of our charities that do these living tributes. PSA are another one. So they are another way of engaging with your supporters and keeping that connection with them. And sadly, you know, if they do eventually pass away, then you can turn it into a tribute fund, and you've got all that information and all the memories of what was achieved when they were alive in one place still. So they something to think about if you've got that opportunity.
Yeah, just to add on that, I'd say with fight back funds, we regularly also pull a report at the end of each month, and unfortunately MND is a disease where it can impact your life straight away. So if anybody does die from MND, a report is pulled because obviously it gets logged onto Razor's Edge, and a couple of months' time we actually get in touch with the guardian of the Fight Back Fund, kind of saying our condolences, and in a few months' time we ask the guardian if they'd like to change the Fight Back Fund into a tribute fund. So then it, as you said, turns into a long-lasting memory.
Yeah, I should just say, if anyone would like sort of access to living tributes is something that we offer as part of our Optimum service. It's not kind of widely advertised because it's a little bit clunky in that you have to set the pages up for the supporter, but it does work. So if anyone's interested, then just let your account manager know and they'll sort of talk you through that. There's a question about, can you automatically change a funeral director page to your own page? No, but MuchLoved can do it for you. So if you've got a page that wants to be flipped from being a funeral page to being an in-house charity page, then just let your account manager know and we can do that really quickly for you. So there's a question from Daisy. If someone sets up a funeral collection page, do they only receive the same stewardship journey as the tribute fund set up through the organisation? I presume that's a question for you, Kavita.
Yeah, so if once we've sent the funeral director stewardship letter to them, if they responded back saying yes, they'd like it to be converted to the association page, then we'll obviously get in touch with MuchLoved so that page can be flipped to an association page. But then we obviously amend our records, and then they'll be straight put into our tribute fund stewardship process, where they receive the monthly email updates and the welcome letter.
And I just wanted to ask Emma, how do you distinguish between the pages created through your service and the ones through funeral directors?
Honestly, we don't. So it's definitely, like I said, it's only something we've been looking into, we've been working on over the last year, and I think we've probably spent a lot of that time really kind of focusing on the stewardship process of the next of kin or the tribute guardians. So yeah, it's definitely something on our ever increasing to-do list, how we kind of engage with those that are creative. But I really love Kavita's idea of just asking people to convert. I think it's a great idea, and I'm definitely going to borrow that one.
Yeah, excellent. It is a great idea. And somebody has asked, what's the benefit of converting a page? Well, the sort of primary kind of visual differences are that it removes the funeral information from the front of the tribute and takes away the funeral director's kind of logos and replaces it with the charity information. But then in a kind of charity kind of portal, it moves the tribute from being in the sort of tributes fundraising for you to being in your tribute. So, you know, then as Kavita said, they then get on the kind of mailing list. I'll let these dogs come to join us. They get on the mailing list and then get stewarded in the same way.
Yeah, so that stewardship, that engagement, and it also adds to our KPIs as well.
Yeah, perfect. So this is a nice, I'm losing track of all the chats now, but Debbie's put on that they set up a living tribute and then changed it to a normal tribute page, and that's raised over 11,000 so far, and they're now organising a ball in memory. So I guess they've become a kind of major donor, if you like, from setting up a tribute page. So there's so much potential if the individuals are stewarded really well. I think that's sort of what it demonstrates. Well, let's see if there are any other questions out there. Has anyone got any advice on stewarding in-mem supporters into future fundraising events? And how long would you leave it before introducing the wider charity engagement? Anyone got any experience of that?
So within my monthly email updates that I send at the end of each month, every so often I tend to include examples of what other people are doing. So I kind of twist it into a personal story of any kind of walks people have done, charity events, and it's more of an encouraging and inspiring thing to do for their own tribute fund. So I very much include it in monthly email updates. And they do go down well, and it gives everyone kind of inspiration on different fundraising events that are out there, depending on the type of year too. So during lockdown, I would kind of feature fundraising that you could do from home, or when things opened up, I started to kind of include walking, getting out the house, and walking events, running events.
Excellent, thank you. Karen, you've asked if somebody does change their mind when they're setting up a funeral collection and they select another charity, We can't remove that charity from the listings, I'm afraid, but I'll get your account manager to talk to you about that in more detail. Ian has asked, how do you manage, how do you manage the process of converting if the funeral supports multiple charities? So I don't know, Kavita might have some experience of that, but I guess the point is, if there's multiple charities being listed and you're the charity that kind of gets in touch first and builds up a good rapport with them, they may choose to just support you in the future, and actually those other charities could be then removed and they could concentrate on just supporting your cause going forwards.
Yeah, yeah, exactly that, I'd say. And same communication letter, because it kind of, within that stewardship letter that I send out to them, you can see on the example on the page, I very much focus on the fact that they've created this, they've supported us with a specific funeral director, and I mention them quite a few times, so it's a thank you on behalf of them, not just us.
Yeah, perfect. Olivia's asked, so there's no GDPR ask if the funeral director is creating them? Well, no, because there's no opportunity to ask the fund holder, because the page is being set up on their behalf, but the funeral director obviously takes the next of kin information and loads that into the system and advises the family that that information is going to be passed on to the benefiting charity. So, you know, there's that, you know, you can always thank them, but you can't add them to your marketing, ongoing marketing, unless they have been presented with a GDPR. And if they make a donation on the tribute, then they, you know, may well be presented with your GDPR marketing ask. There's just one more question. I think we're kind of slightly out of time, but let's have a look at Kate's question just to see if anyone's got any experience of sending a gift to tribute fund holders at Christmas time, or from the sounds of what I've not heard of that. Jackie, have you any experience of?
Not at Christmas. It tends to be the spring to coincide with events that are happening, you know, like the flowers or walks or different. Some of the hospices may do their Light Up the Life campaign, so where they might send a little gift, you know, something, or a candle or something to hang on a tree, like a bauble. I think that's the only thing I can think of. Yeah,
okay. Yeah, I don't know if anyone, and we could use the virtual gifts and have a bespoke gift to have at Christmas, which will display on your tribute pages, so that could almost act as a sort of virtual kind of thank you. So one other question has popped in whilst we were answering that, so this will be the last one because I'm conscious that we've kind of run over time. If you don't have next of kin information, then we call the funeral directors and ask if they could pass on a thank you email, a handwritten card, and that's a nice idea as well, Sarah. So I'm sure that funeral directors as well, if you do make the effort to call them and say you haven't put the next of kin information, they almost certainly will next time, so that, you know, obviously that helps to kind of smooth the process along. We do very much try to educate our funeral director partners and encourage them to put as much information in the system as possible, so that it's kind of nice and easy for you guys to then thank and get in touch. So thank you very, very much to our special guests this morning, Emma and Kavita. It's been fantastic having you here this morning, and thank you everyone for joining and contributing with your questions, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.